For the last 10 years, the Cincinnati Zoo has been partnering with Miami University and Project Dragonfly to take students and teachers and zoo professionals all over the world in a remarkable program called Earth Expeditions.
It's built on the simple premise of inspiring educators, inspiring people of all professions in the global environment, taking people out of the classroom and bringing them to the field to be inspired firsthand by the people,
the young ones,
the culture, the research that's going on here in the field, and taking that knowledge back and making good things happen.
Earth Expedition is a one-of-its-kind master's program. It allows you to put into practice what you learn as you go along. It's real-life application, and it's a life-changing experience.
Over the years, the Earth Expeditions program has grown, and it now takes students each summer all over the world. So naturally, I wanted to tag along this year when we go to East Africa to see the big game of the African savanna.
Well, wildlife conservation is not a wildlife problem, it's a people problem. And here in the South Rift Valley of Kenya, they've really got it figured out.
You grew up seeing pictures of Africa, and you know, in school they talk about just what the culture is and what the people do, and how there's wildlife there, and to actually come and see it. I think it's interesting because in the United States, we grow up and we can name when we saw our first lion at the zoo or whatnot, and here, you get to say, I saw my first lion in the wild. I think those are the experiences that I will forever remember, and the people who are here and just their life and their ability to share it with us throughout was just priceless.
Coming here to Kenya and the rich environment that we go through, whether it be wildlife, also meeting with the Maasai people, this is one of the most authentic Earth expeditions that I've ever been a part of. Throughout these courses around the world that we go on, this is one of my favorite ones.
And each course, of course, has a theme. The theme of ours is coexistence with wildlife. Now, I know what you're thinking, but you started at a national park, and that's what people typically think, let's go to Serengeti or Masai Mara or Amboseli. But the payoff for our course in Kenya is that we end up here on ranch land.
You get really rich interactions with folks around here. One of those things that was sort of an arcane thought of, all right, let's separate people from wildlife, and here, people and wildlife are coexisting together.
That's right. On this very same land, in addition to zebra and giraffe and lions, live the Maasai people and their cattle.
Obviously, as the world progresses, there are going to be less and less places for wildlife, and wildlife does encroach on the territories in which people live. And the ability to see how people can live with lions and these large animals. Lions walk by their path in the morning where they feed their livestock. And I think, to me, Earth Expeditions is understanding just that blend of nature and that blend of how you still survive with nature.
And they don't just cooperate, they literally coexist, and those cattle help protect this area and keep it open for wildlife as well as for the people who live here.
It has broadened my horizon in regards to what people at the local level are doing to conserve wildlife, to conserve natural resources, and to conserve culture.
As the program has grown, it involves lots of other zoos around the country as well. And I can tell you from being experienced with all kinds of programs like this over my long zoo career, this is a phenomenal opportunity.
Just had 3 cubs spotted.
These trips allow one to visit and travel and learn in unique places that other educational opportunities don't offer.
More in the angle.
It's more than wildlife. It's about the people. It's about the actions that the people are involved with. And ultimately, it's about creating change, going back home and try and apply what you learn from these courses to whatever is applicable back home.
So coming in a first-person experience and seeing where the rubber meets the road, oftentimes we read about conservation, we talk about conservation in far-off places like in Africa, like in Kenya. But to see it and to interact with the people and sort of understand how the process is done, and not from a textbook, but from interactions, verbal communication, going out on game drives, it's truly just an authentic and wonderful experience.
Now, the story behind wildlife in the 21st century is much more complex than you might imagine. Historically, people said, gosh, let's start a national park and kick all the people out, and we'll sort of keep them inside in a fenced fortress, like maybe Yellowstone or Yosemite initially in the United States, or Serengeti here. But in fact, today in a modern world, it really takes coexistence between wildlife and the people that live in and near those areas, so that there'll long term be room for people as well as wildlife to live together.
But this was a true, I would say, a living experience of community conservation at work. It shows that community-based conservation is one of the facets, it's one of the tools towards people and wildlife coexisting at the landscape level.
Unless you really think about bringing the people into it in other places, conservation isn't going to have the effect that it does. People are what make conservation, and the ability to live with nature and still survive, that's what people need to learn.
I think the true charm of this program is that it challenges students as they go through the program to create change and exert social pressure on their communities, whereas in other university and other graduate settings, oftentimes the students are asked to do the work, and then once they get their diploma, to go out and create change. This program flips it on its head and completely charges the students with going out and being active in their community and being a leader in their community, which is completely different and super charming from other university programs.